Good evening, hello and welcome. You're with the news today. Plenty to talk about tonight, this Friday night. The big story, the Delhi floods have now led to a war of words. We'll tell you more on that. Also, as you saw just now, Prime Minister Modi and French President Macron's handshake. What does that mean? Indo-French bye-bye and of course the Chandrayaan takeoff. But first, as always, it's time for the 9 headlines at 9 tonight. Chandrayaan 3 blasts off to the moon, successfully enters orbit. The spacecraft will make a lunar landing in 40 days. Parts of northeast Delhi remain inundated. 3 children die after drowning in flood waters. Threat of waterborne diseases now looms. Prime Minister Modi, French President Macron hold bilateral talks in Paris. Big defense deals inked. Prime Minister attends Bastille Day celebrations as a guest of honor. Ajit Pawar becomes Finance Minister of Maharashtra. 2 ministries from the Shinde camp given to Ajit faction. They get some of the prime portfolios. Law Commission extends the last date for suggestions on One Nation, One Law, sets a new deadline of 28 July. Another setback for DMK Neta Senthil Balaji. Madras High Court validates ED custody, says money laundering not the only offence in the case. Namibian cheetah Suraj dies in the Kuno National Park, makes it the 8th big cat casualty in just 5 months. India's lead in the first test match against the West Indies goes beyond 200. Debutant Yashasvi Jaiswal hits a brilliant 171. And in Hollywood's biggest shutdown since over 60 years, actors and screenwriters go on a historic strike for fairer profits and better working conditions. But our top story tonight, the floods in Delhi that have really set the city back. The water level of the Yamuna River, the good news, has decreased to 208.4 meters from yesterday's 208.66. But it's still over the danger mark, and the water has continued to enter several parts of northeast Delhi, including areas near the Supreme Court today. 3 people drowned while swimming in the flood waters. The Met Department has forecast rains in the hill states, Delhi and Haryana, over the weekend, which could mean it might take more time to clear out the waters. Which areas of Delhi are affected? What does this mean for the national capital? It's our top story again tonight.
Cars, rickshaws, motorbikes. These are now mere objects floating like fragile paper boats on the relentless currents that have taken over the streets of the national capital. The water level of the mighty Yamuna has decreased marginally to 208.4 meters, but it is still well above the danger mark. From Rajghat to Kashmiri Gate to Red Fort to Yamuna Bazaar, many parts of Delhi down on the knees for the second day straight.
The island kind of shape that you see behind me is Rajghat, and it is surrounded by water completely, and water flow has intensified in the last 24 hours. The Yamuna water level have slightly dipped. However, the encavements, the walls that were there to protect water level, water of the river from entering into the city, there are cracks there, and that is why the intensity of water flowing into the city has increased in the past 24 hours.
Floodwaters reached the entrance of the Supreme Court in central Delhi, while the busy ITO intersection got submerged as a regulator of the Delhi Irrigation and Flood Control Department suffered damage.
As a resident of the national capital, you understand how important ITO is. But unfortunately, for those who want to travel from Noida to Delhi or from Delhi to Noida, and in case you want to use the ITO, be prepared, you will have to spend at least a couple of extra minutes on the ITO. The reason is the entire side, both the sides are inundated. There are also chances of your vehicle getting stranded. Just in case you are on a two-wheeler, be extremely careful.
Several buses and trucks were left stranded in Kashmiri Gate, where city's biggest bus terminal is located, an area that is usually bustling with buses and passengers. And similar was the situation at the historic Red Fort. Normal life in Delhi has been thrown out of gear as rising waters of the Yamuna invaded homes, markets, thoroughfares, tourist spots. The next few days are critical. Even if Yamuna's level comes down, the water that has already entered the city may take time to clear out. Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, a lot of people across the country believe the entire Delhi is underwater. Not true. Certain parts of Delhi, especially the north and the east part, what we call Yamuna part in particular, has been the worst affected. Take a look at those areas. Civil Lines, Yamuna Bazaar, Kashmiri Gate, ISBT, yes, the area around Red Fort, Rajghat, Majnu Ka Tila, Batla House, Sarita Vihar, Khajuri Khas, Sonia Vihar, Kirari, Kingsway Camp, GTB Nagar. Effectively, East and North Delhi has been affected. If you're living like me in South Delhi, you're not affected. Remember, Delhi itself has not seen rain. The water has flown in from Himachal through Haryana. The fact also is, politics has erupted over these floods in Delhi. The State Minister Saurabh Bhardwaj now complaining to the LG VK Saxena that officers did not respond to his calls for help last night when a barrage was seen to be collapsing. The LG rejected the charge. All of this happening in front of the media. The spat was over a Delhi Jal Board regulator, that collapsed last night, sending more river water in the city. Listen in.
सर एक निवेदन है छोटा सा सर रात को भी मैंने कई ऑफिसर से स्पेसिफिकली रिक्वेस्ट की कि एनडीआरएफ को बुलाइए बट सर वो माने नहीं रात को अब आई है एनडीआरएफ थैंक यू है बट सर रात को आ जाती तो बेहतर हो जाता सर अश्विनी जी को मैंने कहा ग्रुप पे लिखा टीएस साहब भी थे उस पे सर थोड़ी सी मदद हो जाती सर।
मैं सौरभ जी ये कहना चाहूँगा कि ये समय नहीं है कि हम किसी के ऊपर ब्लेम करें या कुछ और टिप्पणी करें। इस वक्त हमें टीम वर्क करने की ज़रूरत है। कहने के लिए मैं भी बहुत सारी चीज़ें कह सकता हूँ लेकिन उसकी ज़रूरत नहीं है। हमें इस वक्त ये देखना है कि हमारे लोगों को कोई तकलीफ नहीं हो और जो प्रॉब्लम हमारे सामने है हम उसको सॉल्व करें। ये सारी चीज़ें बात को हो सकती हैं, हमें इतना समझना चाहिए।
And joining me now is one of our newsmakers tonight. He's right there in the field. Minister in the Delhi government, Saurabh Bhardwaj, is near the ITO barrage, which remember has become one of the spaces where water has accumulated. Saurabh Bhardwaj, you are there at that ITO barrage spot. It appears that the Delhi government seems to be now blaming the Haryana government for releasing excess water, for suggesting that some of these barrage gates are not working. I want to understand from you, are you passing the buck? Are you blaming Haryana for what should be your responsibility?
Rajdeep, we are just putting some facts on the table and we did not do it on day one. We have been working day and night to help the citizens of Delhi. Now I think you also stay in Delhi and most of the viewers who stay in Delhi understand that Delhi is not facing rains for last 5 days. Delhi had its rain on 8th, around 153 mm of rains. On 9th we had rains in the evening and 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th we did not have any rain in Delhi. In spite of the fact the levels of Yamuna have been continuously rising for last 5 days and they have risen to levels which are unprecedented. I just wanted to remind all your viewers that the Delhi faced its worst floods in the year 1978. And even in 1978, when lots of people were dead, property was devastated, the levels of Yamuna were like 207.49 meters. Today, the levels of Yamuna breached 208.60 meters, which is 1 meter beyond what we witnessed in 1978. That is like 45 years back. So you can imagine these levels are unprecedented. Nobody expected that Delhi will get so much of water just because
I take that point. Saurabh bhai, I take that point, but are you blaming this? How can you blame the Haryana government? Either there was no coordination between Delhi and Haryana,
Now,
The fact is Hathnikund Barrage is located in Haryana. You seem to be suggesting that Haryana released excess water, that 5 of the 32 gates of the ITO barrage in Delhi, which are run by the Haryana government, were jammed, causing the rise in water levels. But the fact is, the regulator at Indraprastha metro station collapsed because allegedly of poor condition. Now, how long is this blame game going to continue between Delhi and Haryana?
Rajdeep ji, there is no blame game. I am just putting few more facts on the table. Another fact is, at Hathnikund, there are 3 streams which come out of Haryana. One is Western Canal, another is Eastern Canal, and the third one is the Yamuna. What we found today from various videos which have been shared by us from the neighbors is that the canal which comes to Delhi is full of water. The river which comes to Delhi is full of water. But the canal, the Eastern Canal, which goes to Saharanpur in UP, has no water. So I don't think it's just a coincidence that Haryana doesn't seem to send water into UP even through its canal. But it is very happy sending all the water into the canal of Delhi and into the Yamuna, which is flowing across Delhi. Now all these things are basically science. All the engineers who regulate the regulator at Hathnikund understand, and there are very basic formulas that if you release 3 lakh cubic water, this will make Yamuna's level this much. So these are predictions, and these predictions are with the Haryana government and are with the nodal agency, which is the Central Water Commission.
Now, are you willing to put out in the public domain? Are you willing to put out in the public domain all your communication with the Haryana government? You are making a very serious charge today. You are virtually claiming that at least part of the flooding was man-made. That this was done by the Haryana government to target an opposition government in Delhi.
Rajdeep ji, what I am saying is, we can put out in public the log sheets of Hathnikund Barrage, which will prove to the world that the Haryana government consciously did not send water into the canal which runs through UP, but they pushed water into the canals of Delhi and through the Yamuna River. Second, the barrage where I am sitting is an ITO barrage. Time and again we have written to Haryana government that you don't need this barrage. You don't have anything to do with this barrage. Please hand it over to the government of Delhi so that we can maintain it. Every time during the Chhath season, we have to request Haryana government to open 2 gates, 3 gates, modulate it. Why should we write to Haryana every time? We want to maintain it ourselves. It's a very simple thing.
No, you want to maintain it yourself, but did you, just a minute, you say you want to maintain the barrages. Okay, you want to maintain the barrages in ITO. For our viewers outside Delhi, ITO is in the heart of Delhi, and this is the area in and around leading up to Red Fort, which has been flooded in the last few days. But the question therefore is, you want to maintain it, Saurabh Bhardwaj, but isn't it a fact that the regulator at the Indraprastha metro station, which had not been used or maintained for several years, collapsed because of the poor condition, and this is what caused the flooding ITO, Red Fort and surrounding areas? Can you take responsibility for that or not?
Yes. So let me tell this. No, Rajdeep, I would invite you personally to come and visit the regulator. The regulator is almost new. The plates being used are not at all rusted. They are well maintained, well painted, and you can make out from the condition of the regulator that it was a very healthy regulator, well maintained, and we are maintaining 17 regulators. But you have to understand this, Rajdeep, that Haryana, this retention of water between Wazirabad and this ITO barrage, we are not creating a dam. We don't have a dam. It is a small, it is just a barrage, and these are just gates. If you are, so I'll just tell you few
how did the regulator collapse?
What is happening?
How did the regulator collapse if it is brand new?
So I'm telling you, yes, I'm telling you. 3 lakh cubic water is entering Delhi from Wazirabad, and 2.25 lakh cubic water is leaving from ITO. So you can understand that in Delhi, we are retaining a lot of water because these ITO barrage gates are closed. And obviously there are some more hindrances because, RRTS is constructing, few bridges across Okhla. And similarly, a Barapula bridge is being constructed, which is also creating some obstructions. So what I'm saying is Delhi is retaining a lot of water, and when you retain 75,000 cusecs, that means 75,000 cubic feet water per second, it is not a dam. You cannot retain it. So it puts lot of pressure on our regulators. And this regulator, which is nearest to ITO, could not bear this pressure because Delhi is not made. You know, Delhi has never been designed to handle such kind of pressures coming from Yamuna. That's why, you know, that regulator got breached.
Is it then a wake-up call? No, but then is it a Saurabh bhai, is it a wake-up call? Is it a wake-up call for you? Prevention, ensuring better coordination, are these all wake-up calls? Because the citizen has suffered. The citizen is not interested whether it was Haryana or whether it was controlled by Haryana or Delhi. The citizen wants to know, why is it that even when Delhi was not experiencing rainfall, the streets were flooded? Why did that water come in? Is there going to be now at least an attempt made to ensure this doesn't happen again?
I think, Rajdeep, this is very difficult to say because this is very unprecedented. You cannot create thousands of crores worth of regulators just because there can be rains after 45 years, and that too not in Delhi, that too somewhere in the northern India. You cannot put thousands of crores into that. So Delhi is designed for the optimal or the regular situations of rain and the regular situations of Yamuna. This unprecedented rain, you know, you cannot blame the drainage system of Delhi, because if, I'll just give you an example. Look, all the drainage system across the world runs on gravity. So drains basically flush all the storm water through gravity into the nearest water bodies, which can be Yamuna in case of Delhi. So drain is at this level and Yamuna is at this level, and the drain will drain out water into Yamuna like this. But when you have an unprecedented situation, when Yamuna is at, you know, 5 meter higher than its usual course, that means almost 2 stories high, then all these drains which are, you know, pushing out water into Yamuna cannot push water because Yamuna it is at a higher level. So now you need regulators which will basically stop or prevent water from entering from the river back into the city. And that's how, you know, because there is so much of pressure on regulators, you know, unprecedented.
I am presuming though, I'm presuming though that the worst is over. Therefore, I will ask you, in your view, what is the biggest lesson that you have learned that you will ensure that next time round we are in a better place to deal with such a calamity?
Rajdeep, I must tell you, for last 3 days, NDRF is helping Delhi government. Even the engineers regiment of army has been helping Delhi government. And yesterday night at 10 o'clock, the news flashed on a lot of media channels on the Twitter that there is a breach of a regulator, and if it is not stopped, water will reach the top court of India, that is Supreme Court. Water will reach Luton's Delhi, and it is a very sensitive area. It is a pride of our country. So I reached that place at around 10 o'clock. I assessed the situation and I called up officials, and we have a special WhatsApp group just for flood control, which has the top IAS officers of Delhi. And I told them, Mr. Ashwini Kumar, we should call NDRF and we should take their help at 11 o'clock. Then Atishi tells, yes, if NDRF cannot come, we should call Army's engineer regiment. They are more skilled. They are more, you know, they understand how to handle disasters. Our departments are not, you know, they are not that expert. And the officials ignored it, avoided it. And
you're making a very serious charge again.
As the minister, I don't have these contact numbers.
You're making a serious charge again that officials did not respond to your emergency calls last night.
Yes, Rajdeep. And one of the district magistrates says on the WhatsApp group, which has the chief secretary, sir, I am at the location. My team is at the location. And I was at the location. I said, you are not at the location because I am at the location. So district magistrate is telling a lie on a WhatsApp group saying that she is at a location and she knows what situation is, although they did not know. None of the IAS officers were there in the night. I was there throughout the night, Rajdeep, with around 200 laborers and, you know, a superintendent engineer. But had it been,
So I'm
if
asked,
a minister is giving directions, and not just one minister, two ministers are giving directions in the event of calamity, in the event of emergency, they should be followed.
so therefore I will
cannot
ask
run
you,
an administration
do
of
we
a
have
city
too
by
many,
saying that,
do we have too many
directions should not be
authorities who don't
complied
trust, do we have too many authorities who don't trust each other? Haryana government, BJP ruled, Delhi government, Aam Aadmi Party ruled, MCD ruled now by the Aam Aadmi Party, NDMC comes under the center. We've got officers responding to the LG, officers responding to ministers. Do we need a single authority now for flood control?
I think, Rajdeep, we can deal with the central government and we can deal with the Haryana government. But we as a government cannot deal with the situation because where officers are not answerable to the elected government, where officers are not accountable to the elected government, because LG is not accountable to the people of Delhi. It is me who is being asked questions by Rajdeep Sardesai. Nobody asked these questions from Honorable LG. Okay. Nobody asked these questions from the Chief Secretary. I have to go back to you, Rajdeep, and ask for your vote. So they should be accountable to me, the government. Okay. That's what we need, This ordinance has basically, has created havoc in the administrative system of Delhi.
Okay, that's of course the other big issue. We will debate that in the days ahead, particularly when Parliament is set up. But Saurabh Bhardwaj, you've joined us from ground zero near the ITO barrage. As I said, I hope the situation gets better soon. But thank you so much for joining me here and giving us your side of the story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, while the politicians may do their blame game, the fact is life has come to a standstill for many Delhiites in the affected areas. Several streets, houses as well as markets in the city remained waterlogged for the second straight day. Despite the water level of the Yamuna decreasing, there is no respite for these citizens. How are they coping with the flooded waters? Take a look at tonight's Get Real India story.
Yamuna's water levels are coming down, but several areas in the national capital remain heavily waterlogged, impairing normal life and traffic movement. As authorities scrambled to lead rescue and relief efforts, many Delhiites suffered.
भी आपको रेस्क्यू किया गया, लेकिन अंदर कितनी देर तक आप लोग फंसे रहे? आने की कोशिश किसी की?
हम लोग फंसे रहे 24 घंटे।
हम 2 मंजिल पे बैठ गए थे।
2 मंजिल पे बैठ गए। और कितने समय तक ऐसे बैठे रहे?
कल्ले से पानी बढ़ गया तो हमने की मक्का बचाएं और बकरियां थी दूसरे की बात।
खाना पानी कुछ सुविधा नहीं होगी?
ना दीदी कुछ नहीं।
Water is 10 feet deep right behind me, where houses and bungalows have been submerged, farms and fields have been destroyed, animals have drowned, many rescued by the locals here. But where there was no administration, police or NDRF, there is always India Today, ready to give you all the news and updates from submerged areas of Noida.
Water from the Yamuna infiltrated several homes, markets and tourist spots, throwing life out of gear for many.
कोई मदद के लिए आया?
नहीं,
कोई भी नहीं आया। कोई आया मुनादी हुई कि यहाँ से बाहर चले जाइए या सुरक्षित चले जाइए। आपने हेल्पलाइन नंबर पे कहीं कॉल करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं?
नहीं।
हम इनके पड़ोसी हैं, सामने हमारा घर है, हम इनको लेकर के हमने ऊपर हम लोग कर दिए इनको।
अच्छा, ये नीचे रहती थी?
हाँ, नीचे रहती थी, बहुत आनंद फानंद में भगी हैं ये। इनके घर में 12 बजे रात को पानी घुस गया सर।
Residents of the Yamuna floodplains rushed to save their cattle, dogs and cats. Even horses were seen at the rescue camps, where they were brought from the now inundated river banks.
अंदर जो फंसी हुई गाय, उन्हें हम सब गए यहाँ से, गाय निकलवाई हैं, घोड़े हैं, बकरी हैं, आदमी हैं, उन्हें सबको लेकर आ रहे हैं हम।
ऐसा कभी देखा ही नहीं अपनी जिंदगी में, इतना पानी आएगा। दिल्ली में तो हम कमाने आया हूँ खाने के लिए, ऐसा तो सारे सामान हमारे खत्म हो गया।
Amid the flood havoc, a 3-day holiday has been declared for all Delhi schools. Many schools turned into temporary camps for flood victims. With light to moderate rainfall likely to occur in Delhi and adjoining areas for the next 5 days, situation could turn worse. With Mausami Singh and Milan Sharma in New Delhi. Bureau Report, India Today.
It's been a tough few days for several Delhiites as they waded through those waters. Let's turn from there to our other big story. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron holding delegation-level talks at the Élysée Palace in Paris. Those talks are ongoing at the moment. In a short address a short while ago, Prime Minister Modi called France as India's natural partner in the development story, stressed on areas from defense cooperation to civil nuclear deals to trade and education. Macron said both countries together can find solutions to global crises. Remember, the Prime Minister is attending the Grand Bastille Day celebrations today, where an Indian tri-services contingent marched down the Champs-Élysées to the tune of Sare Jahan Se Acha, with Rafale jets lining up the sky. The Prime Minister has also got the Grand Cross of Legion of Honor, the highest honor of France.
Occupation commune d'un risque de fragmentation de la communauté internationale, en particulier dans le contexte de la guerre menée par la Russie en Ukraine. Nous avons le même objectif de chercher une paix durable et de répondre aux effets de cette guerre d'agression sur les pays les plus vulnérables, notamment en termes de sécurité alimentaire et de capacité de financement. C'étaient ces sujets qui étaient au cœur du nouveau pacte financier mondial que nous avons préparé ensemble et de l'agenda de Paris pour les peuples et la planète qui en est issu et que nous continuerons de porter.
आत्मनिर्भर भारत, उसमें फ्रांस एक अहम पार्टनर है। आज हम रक्षा के क्षेत्र में भारत में नई टेक्नोलॉजी के को प्रोडक्शन और को डेवलपमेंट पर बात करेंगे। सबमरीन हो या फिर नौसेना के जहाज, हम चाहते हैं कि मिलकर केवल अपनी ही नहीं, तीसरे मित्र देशों की जरूरतों को भी पूरा करने के लिए हम काम करें।
So what does this Indo-French partnership mean in real terms? Dr. Mohan Kumar is former India's ambassador to France. He joins us. Nicolas Barr is editor-in-chief, L'Echo Paris, France, and he was the journalist who interviewed Prime Minister Modi. I want to come to you, Dr. Kumar, first, because give us the big picture. We've seen a lot of bonhomie in this visit between India and France. Is this the special relationship that Prime Minister Modi now seems to have with the French president, or is this something that has been built up over the last 25 years that has in a way solidified this relationship?
Thank you very much for having me. I think the latter, if I may say so. It's taken 25 years for these two countries to establish a certain strategic partnership based on trust and confidence. I would make 3 points. Both France and India seek a multipolar world. Both believe in practicing strategic autonomy, and both follow an independent foreign policy. I think what has happened over time is that the two countries are facing an uncertain world. They have decided that they will seek a stable, predictable world to the extent they can. I would make 3 final points. These are two middle powers, both France and India, which are trying to make sense of a world which is on the verge of fragmentation. That's the first. Second, I think really that India can offer to France and EU a chance of de-risking from China by offering itself as an alternative. And last but not least, I think France has come to the conclusion that no global problem can be solved without India. I'm not saying India is capable of solving all problems, but I'm saying that it is not possible to tackle climate change. It is not possible to tackle food security. It is not possible to tackle public health. It is not possible to tackle terrorism without India. And therefore, France has taken a calculated bet on India. I would make one final point, which is that the fact that the Prime Minister's visit to France comes so close on the heels of a hugely successful visit to the United States is itself an ultimate expression of India's strategic autonomy.
Interesting viewpoints there, Dr. Kumar. I just want to come to Nicholas Barr at the moment. Nicholas Barr, you are the journalist who interviewed the Prime Minister. Give us a sense of how France sees Prime Minister Modi, because we've seen the Prime Minister being warmly received, the guest of honor getting the highest honor. At the same time, we've seen concerns in some quarters over what they call human rights violations, they call nationalism. We've seen it in the European Parliament raising issues in Strasbourg over Manipur. How is Prime Minister Modi perceived by the French establishment?
Yes, you're right. There have been some various reports on the issue you mentioned, criticizing some of the policies that have been conducted by Prime Minister Modi since he came to power since 2014. So yes, we have seen these criticisms. At the same time, I 100% agree with what the ambassador said. France considers that India is absolutely instrumental in helping solving the key global issues that we are facing. We all remember the role that India has played during the COP21 Paris Agreement. India was really instrumental, and it's thanks to this country that we were able to reach an agreement. And another thing is that we share the same, more or less the same views on strategic autonomy. That's something President Macron in particular has been insisting on, that France among European countries is the one that stresses more on the need to for Europe and for our country, for France, to reach that strategic autonomy. And that's an idea or a line that India is also following. That so yes, there are questions on the current Indian leadership, but I mean what is more important probably is that we have to have this strategic dialogue, and that India is a critical partner in the world, and of course in the Asia-Pacific region in particular, where France has strong interests as well.
In fact, the Prime Minister did mention, of course, the Asia-Pacific region and India's role there. But Ambassador Kumar, you know, the Rafale aircraft agreement, both in 2016, now again, defense cooperation seems to be central to this agreement. There have been question marks. The opposition has raised it over the way the Rafale deal was signed in 2016, alleged favors being provided to a particular industrialist. But do you get a sense that defense cooperation in particular is in a sense central to this relationship because of the nature of the Indo-French cooperation at the moment over these aircraft deals?
I think the Franco-Indian relationship rests on a tripod, which is defense, security, and nuclear. Defense, nuclear, and space, I'm sorry. So these three are the central elements of the relationship. Defense continues to be a central feature, I agree with you, but I think the more exciting things for me are frankly technologies, 6G, quantum computing, artificial intelligence, and I'm waiting for a roadmap by the two leaders which will indicate. But to go back to defense, I think it's interesting that when I was ambassador, we conveyed to France that a buyer-seller relationship will not do, because India simply doesn't have the money to keep on buying expensive equipment. What I find interesting is that France has been quick to accept that message, and we are now talking in terms of co-design and co-production. Should that come about, that will indicate a paradigm shift in the defense relationship between India and France. Bear in mind that France has been the best strategic partner, which has transferred almost 100% technology to India, whether it is the Uragan engines, which were called Tufani, whether it is the Alouette engine, which was called Chetak, whether it is the Mirage, or now we are talking of Safran getting in touch with HAL and making engines. So it's been an incremental trajectory in which France has consistently, over time, stood by India and tried to take into account our needs in defense. Secondly, they have done it without an on-again, off-again relationship. Third, they have been sensitive to our feelings that, okay, if we don't want something to be supplied to Pakistan, France has taken that substantially into account. So I cannot think of a more trusted strategic partnership than the one between France and India.
So you're saying it's not a one-sided transactional relationship, am I correct?
You're absolutely right. It is not, because it used to be a buyer-seller relationship 6 years ago when I was ambassador. And even then there was substantial transfer of technology. But I am putting it to you that the key thing to observe in this visit is a paradigmatic shift in the attitude of France, that they will transfer substantial technology and try to make it in India, not just for India, but for third countries.
You know, Nicholas Barr, there's also the people-to-people contact. Very interestingly, yesterday the Prime Minister announced that UPI, our digital transactions, will be available if you travel to the Eiffel Tower and, you know, at the Eiffel Tower. My concern is Indians complain we don't get Schengen visas quickly enough, particularly post-COVID. But at a people-to-people level, do you see this relationship developing in various ways, or do you see it as primarily strategic and the rest will happen over time?
Well, of course, it's more strategic than the rest, but and I agree with what the ambassador said on defense. I would add one thing. The ambassador mentioned nuclear, and that's an area where the French, you know, on defense, they have been cooperating fully and with really a lot of transfers of technology and a lot of two-way cooperation. On nuclear, there's some frustration on the French side that we've been discussing the establishment of nuclear plants for like 15 years, and this project is, I mean, it's very difficult to move forward. Right. So we were expecting that with this visit things would probably move forward. It's still difficult, and so that's one point where there's a little frustration. But on the rest, on defense in particular, it's amazing how the cooperation is going on. For example, Airbus will transfer the production of military aircrafts, you know, of transport aircraft that it's called C-295, sorry. And very soon these aircraft, these military aircraft, will be manufactured in 100% in India. And there are several other examples like that with Dassault, of course, but also with another company called Safran.
Right.
So there's a really deep will on the French side to go ahead, transfer some technology and produce these equipment in India.
Right, Nicholas, I'm going to have to leave it there, but it's wonderful to know that the relationship now exists on multiple levels and has become stronger over time. I appreciate you joining us there, and also Ambassador Kumar, thank you very much for giving us, our viewers, a sense of why the French matter, the French connection. Okay, let's turn from there to the other big story of the day, because carrying a billion dreams, India has shot for the moon yet again. ISRO launched its third lunar mission. The Chandrayaan 3 lifted off at 2:35 p.m. with an orbiter lander and a rover from Sriharikota. It's expected to land on the moon around 23rd of August or 24th. If successful, India will join an exclusive club of just 3 other countries that have managed a soft landing on the moon. Take a look.
Plus 5 seconds. 2, 1, 0.
India shoots for the moon, carrying hopes of billions of Indians. Bahubali rocket LVM-3 rocket lifted off with Chandrayaan 3, aiming to land a rover on the moon's surface. The takeoff was picture perfect, every technical milestone achieved.
यह भीमकाय रॉकेट आसमान को चीरते हुए अपनी भयानक दहाड़ से चारों ओर कंपन उत्पन्न कर रहा है.
And as Chandrayaan 3 separated from the rocket, scientists and space enthusiasts gathered to witness history and broke into applause.
We are excited, elated by the success of this because it was so much important for us to put it first in the orbit. Without that, there is no further travel to moon possible. So that way, it is really exciting for us.
The spacecraft will take about 2 weeks or more now to enter lunar orbit, aiming to be the first to land near little explored south pole of the moon. The journey is estimated to take more than 40 days, with the spacecraft potentially reaching the moon around August 23rd or 24th.
It was perfect, and all the propulsion stages worked very nicely, and the intended orbit also was achieved, and it was a perfect mission.
If ISRO pulls this mission off successfully, India will join an exclusive list of just 3 other countries that have managed a soft landing on the moon: US, former Soviet Union, and most recently China.
It's a moment of glory for India, also a moment of glory for you and I, all of us who have been part of the history in the making. And while Team ISRO has done the entire country proud, India has reaffirmed its leading role as a global player.
India's second lunar mission was launched in July 2019, but it was only partially successful. Even today, its orbiter continues to circle and study the moon. But the lander rover failed, crash landing during touchdown. Chandrayaan 3 comes 13 years after the first moon mission in 2008. With Pramod Madhav and Nagarjun Dwarkanath in Sriharikota, Bureau Report, India Today.
Happy this Friday night is what's happening in space with a new chapter in India's space odyssey. As I said earlier, the successful launch of Chandrayaan 3 has scripted history for India's moon mission. Fingers crossed as we caught this light moment between the teams, behind the team's spacecraft launch. We leave you with the visuals of our remarkable scientists who over the years have done India proud. Thanks for watching. Stay well, stay safe. Good night, Shubhratri, Jai Hind, Namaskar.
Because of shortage of time. Yes, sir. I take this opportunity to thank all the mission executives because